Yeah, so magnesium is actually responsible for 800 enzymatic processes in the body. So many processes that we need magnesium for, and it's required for every system in the body. So it supports our muscles, it supports our nerves, it supports our bones, our hormones, our respiratory system, our heart, everything.
On this week's episode, Talk to Vicky, RHN, A Total Approach to Wellness, I'm joined by co-owner from ITL Health, Megan Esser. Now, if you've been taking magnesium and not sure if you're taking the right magnesium or with which form of magnesium you should be taking, Megan is going to clear a lot of that up for you. Stay tuned to the very end, where Megan has a very special, generous offer for all our listeners. Today I'm joined with Megan Esser. She is a holistic nutritionist and a magnesium expert, and we're going to dive into that in a moment. She is the co-owner of ITL Health, ITL in the Light, a family-owned supplement company, Canadian company dedicated to genuinely pure, highly absorbable magnesium products. And that's why she's the magnesium expert. So they are supporting optimal health and well-being for all. Welcome, Megan.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited to jump into everything magnesium because it is a hot topic and there's a lot of confusion out there. So, who better to talk about it than yourself, the magnesium expert? So, what do you hear out there? What are some comments you're hearing?
A big thing that I hear in the industry is confusion about magnesium, about what a supplement actually looks like and what it actually does for our body. So, when you go to a health food store, there's lots of magnesium on the shelf. There's lots of companies making the same types of magnesium, but there's also what we call different forms of magnesium. We have magnesium citrate, magnesium L-Threonate, magnesium bisglycinate, and I could say that 15 times over with different forms. And people, first of all, go, which one's best? And then we also have the wonderful information world these days that shares great information and has helped us understand why we need more magnesium, but has also confused some people about what the different forms of magnesium do and how they function in the body. So that's a big thing. We always get customer questions, which one should I take?
Right. So with magnesium though, and the confusion, so we were talking prior, people are coming in because they want it for sleep, but magnesium does so many other things.
Yeah, so magnesium is actually responsible for 800 enzymatic processes in the body. So many processes that we need magnesium for, and it's required for every system in the body. So it supports our muscles, it supports our nerves, it supports our bones, our hormones, our respiratory system, our heart, everything. So people, it's popular for sleep because when we don't sleep, we really feel it. And there are also in our society with pharmaceuticals solutions to other problems. If we have blood pressure issues, heart issues, blood sugar issues, we don't have to rely on the health world as much as we do for things like sleep and stress. So sleep is a big acute problem in our society. Magnesium does help it, but the great thing is if we're taking magnesium for the purpose of sleep, it will still go to do all of those other wonderful processes in the body.
Nice, nice. So, okay, the confusion, and you said it at the top of the show, citrate, biglycinate, L-Threonate. So which one would they gravitate to?
So there's a little bit of understanding to go into magnesium
Mm.
supplements. When we supplement with magnesium, we can't just absorb magnesium. When you look at a supplement, it's not magnesium on its own in that supplement because it wouldn't be stable and it wouldn't be bioavailable or absorbable to your body. So in order to create absorbable forms and stable forms, we have to attach them to something else. And
Hmm.
that's why we get different forms. When we attach magnesium to glycine, we get magnesium bisglycinate. And when we attach magnesium to citric acid, we get magnesium citrate, and on and on.
Hmm.
Now, all of these different forms of magnesium will have a different amount of magnesium in it because there's only so much you can fit into a capsule. So if you're
Right.
attaching it to a molecule like glycine that's bigger and heavier than something like citric acid, it leaves less room for the actual magnesium component.
Mm.
So that's why sometimes we see maybe a magnesium citrate tablet has 150 milligrams of magnesium in it, and a bisglycinate only has 100 milligrams. And that's just because of the space in the capsule.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's not always a bad thing, though. More magnesium isn't always better because we have to look at the absorbability. Just because there's 150 milligrams of magnesium in a supplement doesn't mean we're absorbing it. So,
Right.
so it's really important to look at absorbable forms. And it's also important to consider those forms' actions on the body. So, like, for example, because we started with those two forms, magnesium citrate draws water to the bowels. So, if you struggle with tight bowels, if you struggle with a bit of constipation, then that's a great form to take because it will help relax your bowels and facilitate a bowel movement.
Mm-hmm.
However, it's not as absorbable in its standard form. So if you're getting 150 milligrams of magnesium per capsule, you might not absorb 150 milligrams. But you might absorb, let's say, 100 and your bowels are going, so you're healthier, you're feeling better. Whereas something like with magnesium bisglycinate, you're absorbing more and it's not doing anything to your bowels. It's not drawing any water to your bowels. So it's just as good in a sense for the right person, right?
Right.
So it's important to know our goals with taking magnesium. You mentioned a lot of people have the goal of sleep. Some people have the goal of sleep and bowels.
Yeah.
Some
Mm-hmm.
people have the goal of muscle cramps, and there's lots of things that go on in the body. So we always encourage when you go to a health food store, discuss with them what your goals are in taking magnesium. And of course, reach out to myself or anybody at our company to consider what form is best for you. But I think the key takeaway that people get confused with, they think different forms help for different things. Magnesium bisglycinate is good for sleep. So they think if they're taking magnesium for sleep, then magnesium bisglycinate is the only form they should take. And that's not exactly true. Because we know that magnesium helps us sleep, magnesium in and of itself. So it doesn't matter what form we're taking, as long as we're getting magnesium, as long as we're absorbing that magnesium in our body, it will help us sleep.
Mm. Nice, nice. Now, L-Threonate, blood-brain barrier.
Mhm.
So what
Yes,
would
the
who or
application.
what would that, yeah, what application would
Yes,
we use
great
that
question.
for?
That's a
Yeah.
newer form of magnesium. It's very
Yeah.
popular right now. It's getting a lot of attention and it is scientifically proven to cross the blood-brain barrier. So it brings magnesium into the brain. So it's magnesium attached to threonic acid, which is the substance that allows magnesium to enter into the brain. And studies show great results in cognitive function for especially like post-concussion recovery is a major
Mm.
one, a
Hmm.
healthy reduction of brain aging. So,
Dementia.
yeah, dementia,
Yeah.
Alzheimer's, and even just, as we age, forget looking younger. Like if we can
Yeah.
think younger, even better, right? I mean, I'll
Yeah.
take both, but if we can slow down our brain aging and then, cognition, memory, I mean, that's a problem for a lot of people, but especially as we get older, it's hard to remember everything, short-term
Mm.
and long-term memory, and even ADHD focus, anything to do with the brain. So it has huge applications, again, especially for people like with concussions. We've had great testimonials. We actually know somebody that she's had several concussions and she takes 4 of our bisglycinate capsules a day and 3 of our threonate capsules a day. So it seems like a lot of magnesium, but in the end, it's what she needs to function. And it's okay to have that much magnesium.
Hmm. No, she's not
Some
going to the bathroom.
She's not going to the bathroom. It's not too much
Interesting.
magnesium. So, magnesium, we have our RDA, our recommended daily allowance, and that's just a guideline, but we are all different. So, somebody like that, because she's had brain injuries, her brain likely just needs more magnesium. Now, maybe somebody else's brain doesn't need that, but that's why so the reason you asked about going to the bathroom, just for our listeners, if you get too much magnesium, it will be dispelled through the bowels. So any magnesium that our body can't use, it will dispel it. So that's wonderful because it's safe to take. Very safe to take extra magnesium if we feel we could benefit from it. And if we can be in tune with our bodies and say, okay, I took an extra capsule of magnesium and my bowels are a little loose. I think I'm at my tolerance. So it's a great test, a great way that we can all figure that out. But everybody's going to be different based on their diet, based on their genetics, and based on their needs and their, let's say personal injuries like a concussion or a muscle injury or something, a bone injury. When we have injuries like that, we can actually benefit from more magnesium because our body needs more of it for that recovery. So the thing about L-threonate as well is that it is bringing that magnesium into the brain, but it's not because the threonic acid molecule is large. In each capsule, we're actually not getting a lot of magnesium. We're only getting about 50 milligrams. So if we take 3 capsules of L-threonate, we're getting 150 extra milligrams of magnesium which is less than one third of the RDA. So to add an L-threonate into your magnesium routine generally doesn't make you have too much magnesium because you're not getting tons of extra magnesium and you're getting it into the brain.
So I was going to ask you, like, people are asking for magnesium glycinate as opposed to biglycinate. Is that the same thing?
The exact same thing.
Okay, and that's what I thought. So, but again, because the label says glycinate, they're like, okay, this is a better
Yeah.
form for
Yeah, so
whatever
it's used
reason. Yeah,
interchangeably. Glycine turns into glycinate, but it's
yeah,
called bisglycinate because when you make that form, it's actually two
right.
these
Yes,
molecules and
molecules.
one
Yes,
magnesium.
yes,
But
yeah,
they are used interchangeably, and if anybody tells you they're not, they are.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
same thing.
Now, I notice you have another magnesium, and this is why you're the magnesium expert, is the taurate, L-threonate, and a biglycinate. So if someone doesn't know what to do, there, all three is right there in
Yes.
one capsule.
Yes, we call that one Meg Trio, and that one is for the person going, I'm not quite sure what form I want to take. I want to get magnesium. I kind of want to support more systems of my body. So just as a reminder, any magnesium that's absorbing into your body will support all systems, but then you have, the glycine in there and the threonic acid to bring it to the brain. So that one's a really nice all around. And I love that one because unless you have a health condition or injury that you believe you really need extra magnesium in your brain, then I'm not sure, we need more research done. I'm not sure magnesium L-threonate is necessary for everyone in full doses all the time, but to have a little bit every day, to get some magnesium in your brain and then get, the bisglycinate and taurate going into your body, working on your bones, your muscles, your heart. To me, it's the perfect blend to make sure you're getting a little bit of everything. Now, of course, like we said, you can take the bisglycinate and the threonate full dose, no problem, but not everybody wants to swallow 7 capsules and not everybody can afford multiple
Yes.
supplements every month.
Well, but you also have it in powder, and that's what I was going to get to as well. Like the one lady doing 7, but the Threonate is not in capsule, but you can also do it in powder.
Yes. So we have a really great form of magnesium. The scientific term is called ionic magnesium
Mhm.
citrate, and how I would
Mhm.
describe that is activated magnesium citrate. So I talked about earlier, like a magnesium citrate capsule, you might not absorb as much because it's not a fully absorbable form. When it's in this ionic activated form, it is. It's just as absorbable as magnesium bisglycinate. So the great thing is you're able to get this magnesium citrate so it can help your bowels move. It's not going to be a laxative, but it just relaxes those bowels. It helps your muscles. We hear so many testimonials about muscle cramps. I had this wonderful testimonial that I'll never forget when before I even worked in this business, I was a registered holistic nutritionist and an elderly lady came to see me. Her legs were so restless at night that she wasn't sleeping
Mm.
and she was beside herself. And I recommended the ionic magnesium citrate because that's a great form to get into your muscles to help your nerves to calm, to really calm you quickly. You add water, it activates, you drink it, it's a liquid, your body absorbs it, and you see almost immediate action. She came into the store a week later and said, "You saved my life."
Aw.
And I like that's why it was such a
Yeah,
heart
yeah.
testimonial. But there's so many things with muscle cramps, restless legs that people are just beside themselves. And it's a
Mm-hmm.
relatively simple
Mm-hmm.
fix. Most of it can be fixed by a well-absorbed magnesium. And
Mm-hmm.
that's why we love the powder. The powder is great because it's also very affordable
Yes. Yeah. And
because
it's
it's a
not
powder,
another pill.
not another pill. And
Yeah.
and some people we say too, you're taking other pills, so just
Mm.
make the powder
Yeah.
and use that as your water. And when people hear powder, sometimes they think it's going to be like a sludge that they have to mix around and
Mhm.
choke back. Our powder is activated, it becomes completely clear.
Yes.
And so it's just like drinking a slightly flavored water.
Yeah.
It's very easy to
It's
drink.
palatable.
Yes,
Yes.
very
Yeah.
palatable.
Now, you said something about warm water, that it gets activated with warm water.
So it actually just gets activated in water, but the hotter the water, the faster the activation will happen.
Okay.
If you have this powder and you add boiling water, you'll see like the fizz goes up and down. And if you add cold water, it'll just be like a slow dance for a while. So you
Right.
want to wait until that fizzing is done because that actually is a
Yeah.
biochemical reaction. So the magnesium is actually attaching to the citrate. The water causes part of it to leak and then it actually attaches. And the fizzing is all of that happening. So until that liquid settles, it's not all attached and it's not all activated. If you were to drink it before, it might try to activate in your stomach. You might get a bit of like bubblies in your stomach and you also just might not absorb the magnesium. So we usually recommend use a bit of hot water, make sure it's activated. And then if you want more hot water, like I love it as a warm drink. Other people prefer it cool, then you just add cool water and you can drink it. You can leave it on the counter all day and drink it. It's not like an immediate loss
Hmm.
of activation.
Yeah, it'll lose its potency. So I want to go back. You said you were at a health food store and then you got into this business. So what, because you're a co-owner to ITL Health. So give us a little
Yeah.
background.
Oh, I would love to. I'm very, very lucky, very blessed to have had the career path that I did because it started at a young age. So I am 40. And, when I was 5 years old, that was 35 years ago, nutrition was n not popular. It was nothing like it was today. We didn't have holistic nutritionists. We didn't have health food stores. We didn't even have the knowledge that we do now. Most people, when I was young, were eating white Wonder Bread, fruit roll-ups. And my mom and dad were always interested in nutrition. And my mom always had this kind of intuitive thing that it was like all this convenience food, all this processed food, it just doesn't bode well with me. So we lovingly joke that when we were little, we got teased for eating birdseed bread because we had our seedy bread. We never got fruit roll-ups. We weren't allowed to drink pop. And of course, as a kid, sometimes you grumbled about it. But now I'm so thankful for the basis. My parents took us to a nutritionist when we were kids, when we were teenagers. We lived on a border city. We actually went to the States because there was no nutritionist in our city. So I was raised in very good nutritional principles, and that really set a good foundation to be interested in it myself. And I decided to become a holistic nutritionist because of my love of nutrition. And I was also very fortunate to be able to have an office in a health food store that had a clinic in the back. So we could easily, recommend supplements to customers. And that was in my hometown, Sarnia, which is where we manufacture all of our products. So fast forward a little, then I decided to start a family. I moved for love to Toronto. And at that time, it wasn't all that long ago, but lots has changed since then. We didn't have the Zoom, the online meeting. So I couldn't take my practice with me. Everybody was in Sarnia. So I just decided to chill a little bit, spend time with my babies. And I'm also a big believer in the right things happening at the right time. And I always knew my career path would become clear to me. And after having my third child, my dad said to me, he had made it known, sometime I want you to come work for the family business. And at that point, he said, we need help, and I think this would be a good time. So my parents founded the company, and my sister started working for it a few years later, and then I started working for it a few years later. So now my dad and my sister and myself run it together. My mom has chosen to work in a health food store instead of work for the company because she loves to be out in the community, which is wonderful. We had originally launched our products in Ireland. There was a huge market need in Ireland. They didn't have any well-absorbed magnesium supplements available to them. We were the first ones to introduce the form of magnesium bisglycinate to Ireland, and we were really able to help the
How
Irish
how
people
long ago was
understand.
that? How long was
We started selling the powders in Ireland 10, 11 years ago in 2014, and we launched the bisglycinate in 2018.
mm.
So it's been 7 years now, which is
And in Canada?
in
Here,
Canada, we launched in 2022.
2020. Wow, that's really new.
Yes, we're fairly recent in
Congrats.
Canada.
Yeah. And
We
I checked out your website and you've won so many awards for kids magnesium, women's awards, like Canadian Choice Awards. Congratulations. And a very young company. Good
Thanks.
for you. Good for
Yeah.
you. So you're working with your dad. Did you move back to Sarnia?
No, I didn't. So
No.
we manufacture all of our products in Sarnia, but these days so much is done remotely. So
Yes.
my sister lives there as well. I oversee sales and marketing for Ireland, for the UK, for Canada. So I don't have to be at the manufacturing plant. And I always joke that sometimes it's probably good I'm not because then I don't get pulled into that. I live
Hmm.
near the airport, so it's easy for me to
Oh,
to go
yeah.
and do what I need to do and be in the GTA. So yes, I'm still in the Toronto area.
Nice. So I was going to say something you said to me. You have a calcium product and there's a vitamin K in it. So it's micro-encapsulated vitamin K. Now, why is that so important?
It is extremely important to have vitamin K2, what you call micro-encapsulated, when it's mixed with another alkaline mineral. So research shows that the alkaline mineral, like calcium or magnesium, will cause the K2 to break down. It will be unstable, and it's such a quick process that after 1 month of manufacturing, so we blend them together, in 1 month, if we were to test, that vitamin K2 would not meet the label claim. So let's say we say there's 100 micrograms of K2, now there's going to be, let's say, 90 within 1 month. Within 1 year of testing that, if we age that 1 year and we test it, there is no K2 detected in it at all because the alkaline mineral broke the whole substance down and it's gone now. So if you don't double micro-encapsulate the vitamin K2 when it's mixed with another alkaline substance, you're not getting it. Even when we think about manufacturing, by the time we make the product, by the time it gets shipped to our distributor, by the time it gets to your store shelf, by the time it gets to the customer, you're looking at a good couple of months at best case scenario. Now, to clarify, it's only when you're mixing it with alkaline minerals. So if you have like a vitamin D and K2, it's fine because vitamin D will not affect the stability. But it's important to use this. Some companies don't use it because they don't know about this instability. We focus on a lot of research and development to make sure we're using the right forms. And it also is much more expensive to buy this form, but that is the form that we use in our kids product, in our bone formulas, and in our bisglycinate that we mix with K2 and D3 to make sure that that molecule is stable. We lab test our raw materials when they come in, and we lab test our products before they go out the door, and then we age our products and we lab test them at time of expiry. And all of our nutrients have always met label claim.
That's amazing. Thank you. Thank you for doing all that. Now, do your kids take the kids supplements?
Yes, they do.
Yeah, yeah.
They love to remind me, especially at bedtime if I forgot, because then they know
Oh,
that they get an extra 5 minute
oh
extension.
yeah.
But we notice a big difference actually. My 1 year old, when my son was one, he's 6 now, we discovered that he had something called breath holding spells.
Mm,
And so these are something that's considered normal but rare. And it's a nervous system disorder that they cry so hard
mm.
that they cannot regulate themselves and they literally pass out. And my youngest has always struggled the most from emotional regulation. So he gets upset, he starts crying, he can't calm, he loses his airways, he turns to that purplish blue color, he faints, and then he comes to right away. But it's all because he got so upset. So I have 3 boys, so he was the youngest. Lots of chaos in the house.
Yeah,
It's really scary because it's also a silent thing. He's crying and then he's not crying, so you think he's okay. Then you hear a clunk and he bumped his head. I saw
yeah,
him having one on the stairs. It would cause a
yeah,
lot of
yeah.
anxiety.
Sure.
So I wasn't very faithful with their magnesium supplements at that time when he was one because of the busyness of having 3 young boys. But I started getting very faithful with that supplement.
Hmm.
And we noticed those breath holding spells, they were happening every day. Then
Oh,
they reduced to
goodness.
once a week. Then they reduced to once a month. And then they didn't happen at all. And
Wow.
for months and months, they didn't happen. Then I took them on a camping trip for 5 days. I didn't bring the magnesium along. And on day 5, he had a breath holding spell. So now he is almost 7 and he's outgrowing them because they say
Yep.
that they outgrow them by that age. But it was a huge, like a massive reminder about how much magnesium supports the nervous system because it just was night and day with that. And then, I mean, the benefit of magnesium too is growing pains for children,
Yes.
sleep,
Yeah.
ADHD, focus. And then that same son played soccer on Monday in a soccer tournament, got a hat trick, and he was complaining about a muscle hurting and he was starting to limp a little bit. So I took our topical magnesium and
Ah.
I rubbed it on his leg. And within 10 minutes, he said, my leg's already feeling better. I don't have to limp as much.
Nice. Nice. So you
So,
pulled a
yeah.
muscle, I guess, playing
Yes,
soccer. Yeah.
exactly. And then actually this was a couple months ago, but I my one son that they're all athletic, they play hockey, and he just went upstairs and he said, I just put some magnesium on my arm because it was a little sore. And I thought, yes, they're learning.
I know that's nice. That's nice when they're doing it themselves now. And
Yeah.
yeah, and they know what to look for, right? Well, that's beautiful. That's nice. Megan, this has been really wonderful. One thing I was going to ask you is bone health. So we
Yeah.
talked about K and how it gets diminished because of the alkaline minerals,
Mhm.
but you also have bone health supporting products, but there's
Yes.
no
So
K in it.
no, the bone health supporting products all have K2 in it. K2 is an extremely important mineral for bone health because it helps direct calcium into the right place in the body, which is the bones and the teeth where we need it. So research shows that women who supplement these, it was only done on women, it would be applicable to men too, who supplement with calcium didn't have a lower risk of bone fracture. So they were still breaking their bones at the same rate as everybody else, but they actually had a higher risk of heart disease. And that's because if calcium is taken in excess or without the right nutrients to go alongside of it, the body doesn't know what to do with it. And instead of like magnesium, it just dispels it through its bowels. It doesn't do that with calcium, it stores it. And it puts it in areas like the arteries, which can lead to, the hardening of the arteries. It can put it in the eyes, leading to cataracts, bone spurs, joints, kidney stones. Some of these conditions are also other things happening in the body, not just calcium buildup, but calcium buildup is a big factor. And the problem with a lot of the research done and a lot of the narrative in our society is that it's calcium bones, calcium bones. You need stronger bones, take calcium. That, of course, is true. There's a lot of calcium in our bones. We need calcium in our bones, but also 52% of the magnesium in our body is in our bones. And K2, again, helps calcium get in the bones, right? Magnesium works with calcium as well, but we also need, to get calcium in the bones, but we also need magnesium in our bones. And then we have things like vitamin D, which helps us absorb calcium. And we have things like vitamin B6, which promotes osteocalcin, zinc, which promotes bone regeneration, vitamin C, which helps with collagen production. So there's so much more that goes into bone health than calcium. And when we look at calcium, it's not even a really strong deficiency in our diet. K2 and magnesium and vitamin D are much more deficient in our diet. So it's not that calcium's a bad thing, and it's not that we don't need calcium for our bones. It's just not so simplistic. So we have two bone formulas. One has a lot of the nutrients that I mentioned without calcium, because some people don't actually need extra calcium. They just need those other deficiency nutrients. And some people are taking calcium on its own. And then they need all of those cofactors to go alongside the calcium to bring calcium in the bones and promote bone health. But then we also have a more complete one, which is all of those nutrients plus calcium. So if people want calcium as well, and they want a whole complete bone formula, then we offer that alternative so that, they can choose which one's best for them.
Well versed, like everything for all these women and men too, but like bone health, the magnesium, like we're touching all the areas of what I'm hearing of people coming in, heart health, sleep, the calcium.
Mhm.
Doctors are saying you have to take so much calcium, and they're like, they look at the label and it's like, wow, I'd have to take like 10 pills to equal what the doctor's telling me. That
Which is
kind of
a
idea,
lot of
which is
calcium.
no, and
Yeah.
just what you said, you need the other cofactors, you need the other minerals, which
Yes.
is so important to bone health
And then the bonus
growth.
of some of those other minerals, like you talked about men as well, and
Mm-hmm.
osteoporosis, it's a more of a problem in women, but it's still a big problem in men.
Yeah.
Women really suffer with the hormonal changes as we age, but because women get so much attention, we do forget that men have some hormonal changes as well. Their testosterone is declining. Well, they are having changes as well. And the great thing about our bone formulas is they have some of those extra ingredients in there that help with heart health, the vitamin K2, the vitamin C in there, and they help with immune health, the zinc, the vitamin C, the vitamin D, but they also help with hormonal balance. So magnesium and vitamin B6 together show that it helps hormonal balance. We also have boron in there, which helps with testosterone production. And so we get a lot of wonderful reports from menopausal women and men, but women are seeking out solutions a little more as it's a bit more acute, that it's an all-around great menopausal, hormonal, even younger women, because it helps with their anxiety, it helps with their sleep, it helps with their stress, it helps with their mood balance, it helps with their sex drive, it helps with their hot flashes. We've even had significant reduction in hot flashes with that bone formula. And then, of course, it's helping the bones, which we all need to make sure that we're doing as we age, men and women. And so, you know, again, women in menopause are really seeking the solutions because these problems become acute. But these are great supplements for men, and they're great supplements for younger people as well. Especially, I actually just heard an interesting stat yesterday, or interesting piece of research, that estrogen production can be tied to resilience and how easily the body is able to recover from stress. And we know that magnesium helps us with stress. And I have observed in my practice that, let's say, the healthier a person is going into menopause, they're affected less. And that really, when I heard that resilience piece yesterday, I thought that makes sense, because if we optimize our magnesium, if we get all these nutrients, we're, living the right lifestyles before we hit menopause, we have an easier time because we're being proactive rather than reactive. It's easy in our 30s to think we're invincible, but an encouragement, if you have younger listeners, to start taking care of yourself, getting on a bone formula, getting on these right nutrients, now is the time.
Well, and like you said, you have three boys. Life is busy. You're 40. We're not always thinking about ourselves. We're thinking about our family, our aging parents, perhaps. And we, as women, we're kind of on the sideline. But no, that's a good call out to women. Look after yourself and start with, it can be as simple as doing some magnesium.
Yes, and like that's my routine. Every morning I do the powder,
Hmm.
tablespoon,
Nice.
some water, that bone formula. I do the
Yeah.
one without calcium right now. I don't have any reason to believe I need extra calcium in my diet. And it's a nice, warm, alkalizing drink every morning. And
Hmm.
I think sometimes when we're on the right track, our bodies tell us, right? Every morning I wake up craving it. I don't go for the coffee.
Megan, you just got a nice testimony about your sea minerals.
Yes, our CMAG line, which is our
Okay.
topical magnesium chloride line.
Oh, nice, nice. Can you share that testimony or?
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely. And just for our listeners, magnesium chloride is sourced primarily, it can be synthetic, but it's primarily sourced from the sea. So we use it from the Dead Sea. It takes the magnesium chloride out and it will leave some trace minerals
Mm.
because, you're not going to filter all of those out, but it filters the impurities and it just leaves the magnesium chloride, which gets absorbed through our skin. Research doesn't show enough how much it gets into our body, but 27% of magnesium is contained in our muscles. So if it's even just getting into our muscles, that's a big thing. I know myself, huge difference with muscle soreness when I bathe in the chloride flakes. You can also use them as a foot bath if you're not a bather, but you are on your feet a lot. So this person said, I wanted to let you know how much I love the CMAG flakes. I've noticed a difference between your flakes and a competing brand. I'm really happy with the absorption and effect on sore and tight muscles. One of our staff has also said that she too prefers the CMAG flakes, and one day we hope they'll be available in a larger package.
How big are they now? How big's the bag?
The biggest bag is 2 kilograms.
And then how
We've
much would
used
you
about a
put
cup per
a cup? Okay.
cup. So even in a 2 kilogram bag, you're looking only at like 10 servings or something. But they're chloride flakes are more expensive than Epsom salts. So in
Yes.
the
Yeah.
past, my frugal self always went through for Epsom salts. And once we started with the flakes, like I would either put nothing in my bath or
Hmm.
four chloride flakes. Like
Yeah.
it is
Yeah.
night and day difference to me. I take a bath,
Oh,
sleep better, I'm
totally.
not sore.
Totally.
It's the
Yes.
chloride is really, really great. And we also have them available in rubs. I mentioned earlier my son. So it's the chloride that you can rub in a gel or a spray right onto your muscles too if you're not a bather.
Nice, nice. Well, we've got a lot of customers that can use the creams and the sprays for sure. Megan, thank you for this time. Thank you for your time. LTL Health, we're going to be looking for that on the shelves. Magnesium, the bone formula, magnesium for kids. We're going to be looking for all of that on the shelves. So thank you for this interview. And yeah, I wish you all the best and congratulations on all your awards.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you for your support and for having me today. And to the listeners for giving your valuable time to join us today.
Thank you. Are you taking magnesium? And if so, which form? Are you wanting to try a different magnesium like the ones mentioned in this episode, such as L-Threonate or Mag Trio? Mag Trio has 3 different forms of magnesium. Well, ITL Health has a special offer for you today. Visit their website, itlhealth.ca, and put in the code TALK2VICKY, TALKTOVICKY, and receive 25% off your first purchase. This is very generous. If you're like me, when I see a great savings, I tend to stock up. The 25% is only on your first purchase, so you'll have a chance to try these award-winning supplement products. They have a beautiful, well laid out website to see all of their products that they carry. Don't forget about the kids. They need magnesium as well. If you are enjoying these videos, give me a like, a subscribe, leave a comment. I look at all the comments. Every time you interact with this channel, you're helping it to grow and it is greatly appreciated.